We hear a familiar sound. A heartbeat. Its pace is erratic, under the influence of most of the bag of cocaine that sits in the shoulder pocket of Gregory. He's a young man, but he's sort of in his early 30s, and he's wildly drunk and completely overwhelmed by the narcotics in his system. He is staggering down a road in the southern areas of Camden. It is an off-road that leads into an alleyway whose walls are painted with rich neon colors, graffiti daubing the two sides of the buildings, almost to the height of the roof. Ladders must have been involved with these artists, Gregory thinks, as he sort of drunkenly beholds these wonderful sights. These sights in the darkness. The darkness that hangs upon the corner of his vision. The darkness that seems to be creeping ever closer without Gregory noticing. The shadows seem to move like liquid across the floor towards Gregory as he undoes his trousers and begins to relieve himself heavily against this fine art upon the wall. Gregory, a voice comes from the darkness. Gregory doesn't hear the sinister voice in the darkness. He is in a world of his own. Gregory, the voice says, louder this time, and Gregory hears, and he stumbles wildly, jumping, alarmed at the sudden sound behind him, a trail of his fresh urine coating his trousers. Who's there? He looks round. No one is to be found. But the voice continues. Gregory, I hope you're not making plans to further desecrate my streets. Who's there? Gregory says, panicked. Oh, Gregory, you're not listening to me at all, are you? Why don't you come closer? And Gregory's eyes go dead. There is no longer any form of free will about his gaze as he slowly walks into the darkness. Welcome home, Gregory, the voice says. Siegfried, your eyes open. You have woken from another day's rest. Why don't you explain where you are and how you're feeling right now?
Siegfried will jolt awake, take a minute to reorient himself, figure out where he is, and then he'll remember that he had stayed at the club. He slept in one of the offices, like the previous night was like a very busy one, and there was too much to be done. So we ended up staying here, sleeping, just falling asleep in the chair on his desk. But he'll like jolt upwards so that he's sitting upright. Realize that he's like not in his bed in his house, and then like that sort of like panic of waking up somewhere that's not your own home will fade as he'll remember and realize where he is. But once he orients, he's surprisingly calm, focused, and he'll just look down to see whatever he had like trailed off typing on his keyboard, whatever the next thing that he was working on, getting like contracts or spreadsheets set up or whatever. Like make sure that he can like check them out with Don later. Like go back just immediately to typing on them.
Donica, explain your waking ritual, shall we say?
He has to disconnect himself from the ceiling. It's the first thing that he does when he wakes, because he sleeps upside down like a bat. It's one of the weirdest things about his transformation. Still, it feels weird to him. All the other stuff kind of makes more sense, but that's one that never really becomes normal. So he'll like pull himself down to standing and like crack his neck. He would be in his subterranean lair that he is. Over the last while, spent a lot of time sort of constructing and improving. And he would walk to the little mini fridge where he would like take out a blood pack that he would have purchased and just like greedily take a sip. One of the upsides of being a Nosferatu is you don't really care what the blood is or where it comes from. It's like not like none of this sort of Ventru insistence upon fine blood. You can drink rats, you can drink blood from a bag. It's all really the same. So as he kind of like sips that like a cup of coffee, he'll like go over to his like 9-monitor computer setup and like input the enormous password and just begin like lean back and like look up at the screens and see what's happened overnight or over day.
You've actually just been going over old footage. You have a direct feed, a live feed to the club that you now own. You've been going back through old security CCTV footage. And before you, you see a sight that occurred 6 months ago. 6 months ago, and those 6 months have been a blur. You see yourself, you see Siegfried standing within the office confronting Jeremiah. And you see him wielding what looks like a crowbar, I think it was. And him lunging at you, then pausing. Realizing that to attack you would be unwise. Realizing that the game is up. You see all of the procedures that would follow over the days of the club being handed over to you and Siegfried. How does it feel to be the head, or at least not, well, one of the figureheads of this new business?
The income is nice. The business itself is not really John's cup of tea. It's a bit gross in there. He doesn't like spending a lot of time there, at least not in the actual club part of it. But it's very useful as a business for Donica because he's an information broker and people talk a lot when they drink and people drink a lot in the club. And they have many sort of rooms for private gatherings and meetings and things like that, all of which have been sort of, since Donica has taken control of the place, have been like outfitted with hidden microphones and cameras so that they can hear and gather all the information that they need. And so it's been really useful on that front. And it does feel like there's a, like he and Siegfried are like getting a foot in the door of this like immortal situation.
Fantastic. Tough. You're waking up. What is your ritual? Where are you? And how are you feeling this evening?
Right. Toph waking up and he's just in a haze. He's been in a haze for many months now, worse than normal. He's been touring with his band. just small clubs across Europe. And this is just what he's actually waking up on this ratty couch in this back room of this club. Off in the distance, you can hear the sounds of muffled voices and the thumping of like a loud bass. The room is just covered. There's just got that haze of smoke just laying across. And as he kind of looks around blearily, he's not alone. Several other people here. He can hear and smell the blood in those that are still living in this room. He's high as fuck. He had just feasted on someone. He's not even sure who. Doesn't care. But the drugs they had, they were good. And that makes him happy. And that's basically what he's been doing. When he hasn't been playing, he has just been drowning himself in alcohol and drugs. And just trying to forget something that he's not done for many, many years. And that's probably what pisses him off the most. Why does he care? Why should he care? And he thinks if he just drinks enough that it'll go away, but it hasn't yet. And that just, and as he's thinking it, you just hear this creaking as his fingers dig into the arm of this smelly, probably stained with many things that he probably does not want to think about. And he just digs his fingers into this couch, and he pushes himself up. And before you know it, he falls upon this young woman who herself is like, her head is kind of just lolling and her eyes. And he just nuzzles right into her neck. And it feels good as his fangs break this surface of her skin, and he just starts to drink deep that warm, lovely blood.
Fantastic. So, Siegfried, there is a knock upon the office door.
Siegfried will lock his computer screen and then look up, just say, "Who's there?"
Hello, sir. It's Francis. Francis
Oh.
is the ghoul manager of your club.
Oh, yeah, come in.
The door opens timidly, and a timid man enters. He sees things sometimes, but he doesn't ask questions, and that's why you like him. Hello, sir. I have a message. It was left earlier this afternoon, but I didn't want to disturb you.
Of course. Yeah, what is it?
It's here, sir, and he has a folded piece of paper that's not been opened, and he just leaves it on your desk. Is there anything that you would have me attend to before I begin opening up?
Just the usual stuff. Make sure that we're geared to go.
Very well, sir. Oh, and I had to let one of the bar staff go. They were caught trying to dip their fingers into the register, but everything's been returned.
Do we need to do any of the paperwork? Is it taken care of?
Oh, trust me, sir, it has been rigorously taken care of.
Good.
Good evening, sir. And Francis leaves.
Yeah, Siegfried will just put up a hand to wave him off, a nod, and then he'll just kind of like look down quizzically at the folded piece of paper, and I'll just like take it between two fingers so that he can like flip it open with his thumb.
It's actually, to describe it a bit better, it is a rich purple color paper. It does appear to be hastily folded, you note, as you open it up, and you see pristinely laid out inside, in stark contrast to the rough paper covering it, is a single ticket. It is a ticket for the Royal Opera House for a performance tomorrow night, a performance of Don Juan, one of your favorites. There is no note.
Yeah, Siegfried's brow will like furrow quizzically, and I'll pull the ticket out from the paper and let the purple paper just fall onto the desk. And I'll like look over it to see if there's anything written down, any sort of note or inscription or memo on the ticket as to like who or what or why. I'm not sure if there's anything to see.
There isn't, no, it's just a singular ticket. But you do notice, obviously, you've looked at plenty of performance tickets in the past. You do make note that this ticket is for not only opening night, so very expensive. It is also for the dress circle, which is one of the best seats in the house. It's actually one of the boxes at dress circle level, box 5, renowned to be the best seat in the house.
Yeah, he'll just kind of like shake his head, like it doesn't make sense. He's not sure who sent this or why, especially that they would have spent so much money to give it as a gift. And for a moment, he'll like try to consider like who they've like established, like who he and Don have established business relationships with the club, to like think who might be trying to bribe him into accepting a contract deal or something like that, thinking that that might be the angle. But nothing like seems or feels right about that either. Because they would want credit for doing that. They would want him to know that they bought it if that was the case. So he'll just pull up an email on his computer to Don and just say, "Sorry for the short notice. Gonna need a night off pretty soon," and just like put the date in for the performance, at least for a few hours, and then he'll send it. And then just kind of go back to the ticket, looking it over a couple times more, just like shaking his head. Like it's so strange.
Bing! Don, sorry, your phone goes off.
He'll like look down and like press the. He can't use the fingerprint thing on the phone because he has claws, and so he has to like type in the code every time. Which is another sort of bizarre thing about being a monster. He'll like open it up and see, I guess, that email from Sig. When is it? Is it tonight? Like tomorrow night? Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have plans, so it's okay. So he'll say, yeah, no problem, and like send it off. Yeah, he should like Donica should go to the club. Really doesn't like communicating by email, and so he will just like send the letter K, full stop, and like send that. His email can be found and dug up, and so he likes to, whenever possible, communicate in person, in places where he knows that they're not being recorded.
Perfect. So as you make your way to the club, and I imagine that's either through a series of subway tunnels or sewers or things like that, why don't you just let us know what Donica is thinking about as he thinks back upon anything else in the past 6 months?
Yeah, a lot, I think. He like as he walks through the layer that he's built, or like improved upon over this time, like it's extremely well hidden, in like the old like way down underneath like the underground tunnels, but like it's quite nice inside. It's like a lot of chrome and shiny sort of metal. It's not warm or welcoming in any sort of sense, but he doesn't need that anymore. He would have needed that when he was a person, but now doesn't feel any sort of need for like a carpet or like a pillow anywhere. You know, it's all like a lab almost. But he lives there. as he like walks out, he would think of like what he's been doing for the last while. He would definitely think of like Tess and trying to communicate with her as much as possible. Like finding, he had like that email from her, and he would have like sent a email to that address. But then, like I imagine, getting no response would have spent a lot of time and resources as well, like with Shreknet and like the other Nosferatu who he communicates with, like trying to find out where the hell she is. Yeah, so he would do a lot of that. And as he like makes his way, he's going to get a cab, I think, to the club. And as he like makes his way up, he has to like literally climb a. This is like one of the other reasons that it's like very safe. This layer, he has to like climb up a shaft, like not a mine shaft, but it's just like a hole in the ground. So he's able to do it without too much issue, and like some vampires could, but not many people could. So he's like climbing that. He thinks about his growing drug smuggling enterprise, and how much work he's put into that, and that he's like careful not to do it in the club or anywhere near the club. He's like, those are two very separate things. And he'll like think of that until finally he like comes out, and I guess it's early night, and he'll like get a whiff of London, which like maybe would smell fresh to a person, but to a vampire it smells just hideous. It's just like the stench of any city, I think. And he can smell, you know, millions of people and rats and dogs and cats and pigeons and shit and beer and piss and all of it. But it's sort of nice to him now. Like initially, I think it would be so overwhelming, but I think after a while, he's like, "This is where I live." Yeah, and he'd like try and flag down a cab and head towards the club.
Perfect. Tough, what are your plans this evening?
Toph supposed to be singing. You know, they're in the what this club, this dirty, ratty club's version of the green room is what I described earlier. You know, several of the people in the room with him are his bandmates. So yeah, he's just planning on singing. He's feeling really good. Feeling like it's going to be a good set.
So, if I'm correct in my memory, the rest of your band members, Taking Back Wednesday, I believe it's called, are human. Is that right?
They are, yeah.
That's right. So, do you reckon you'd be playing by now, or you're about to just get ready to perform?
About to get ready. There's always that one band member that's overly prepared and is the timekeeper, and that's probably the one bandmate that is absent from the green room. You know, the one that doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't do any of that stuff until after the show. So they would probably poke their head into this room and probably be a frown or something, because they would see Toph just kind of, he's just finished, you know, he's licked this neck of this poor girl just to seal up where he bit her, and he kind of just falls beside her on this couch, just yet another one of those ratty couches. You know, like their set was supposed to start like 10 minutes ago in classic performance. And yeah.
It's at that point that a familiar figure approaches you. Ruben Cook, he is your drummer. And he approaches cautiously. He sees that you've got that look in your eye. The same look you had in your eye when you trashed your last set. And he goes, Tough, how you doing, lad? Listen, mate, gotta have a bit of a word with you.
He doesn't say anything. He just looks up at him. He's kind of got his arm draped around this girl, and she kind of like her head just kind of like into his shoulder, and he's just kind of looks to an empty spot on a couch near kind of set near this one. Yeah.
Hey, love. He clicks his fingers. Come on, get out of here. We need to talk about some business. I haven't got long.
Yeah, he pushes the girl away, and probably you did shoot out the other people in this room too.
So, man, I look, to be honest with you, I don't really like doing this, but the others have made me, well, shall I say, I drew the shortest straw. We've had some really good times. Berlin, Amsterdam again.
There's probably a chuckle when he says Amsterdam, and Toph's like, yeah, Amsterdam.
But me and the lads have all been talking, and oh, for fuck's sake, mate, you're out of the band.
What? And you would just see like his eyes, his pupils are like extremely dilated, more so than they should be. He's like, come again? I don't think I heard you.
Oh, tough. Yeah, me right. I said you're out of the bloody band.
I am the band.
It's an artistic difference of opinion that you're entitled to. We just had a bit of a chat, and yeah, we think we need to go in a bit of a different direction, shall we say? And you've been talking about going solo for so long. We thought maybe a kick up the arse is exactly what you need. So we've actually brought Johnny in tonight. He's actually going to be trialing out as our lead vocalist now. Can you imagine on such short notice, eh?
I am laughing, and Toph is kind of laughing too. But my laugh is I'm actually I'm actually really appreciating this. Toph is not. He kind of looks past Ruben, doesn't see any of the other band members, and he goes, let me get this straight. I start this band. I give my life to this band, and you guys are just gonna throw me out. And just with the blink of an eye, Toph is up out of the seat, off of this couch, grabbing Ruben by his collar and brings him up against the wall. And there'd be like this flare of anger in his face. And he says, so that's how it's going to be. Is it, Ruben? And his feet would probably be like, it'd be one of those things where the camera would pan down and his feet are just like dangling off the floor.
Yeah. Well, Toph, come on. Easy now.
He's still holding on to him, but he feels himself sliding down the wall, and his feet, Ruben's feet, are on the floor. And Toph gets really uncomfortably close. And he's like, well, I wish you well then. And he lets him go, and he kind of does one of these little things where he pats his shirt and just slams out of the door. And like anybody that gets in Toph's way, he is just going to shove aside. He's so angry right now, but he doesn't want to kill Ruben.
Yeah, and as you walk past, you walk through a cloud of marijuana smoke. You see Vicente, who's your bassist, so stoned he doesn't even actually realize what's going on. So he goes, "Oh, bye, Toph." As she march past.
I think that's when Toph flips him off. Keeps walking. Does he know the replacement singer that they just happened to bring in?
Yeah, you probably would have noticed Johnny sort of circling the band like carrion. He's just waiting for his chance,
Oh, I love it. No, he's like the equipment guy. He's the guy that like unloads our crap.
Yeah.
And little did we know he's got a singing voice. Bastard. Yeah. So I think he would kind of get out to the main floor. They the stage is set for the band, and he's looking for him, kind of scanning the group. And that's where Toph's gonna head.
Yeah, perfect. You see him sticking out. He sticks out a mile. He's already got a microphone in his hand. You know that you were due to be on 10 minutes ago anyway, and they're about to go on. Essentially, they're all getting ready.
I think Toph, seeing that, something, he's high as a kite, man. He didn't care. He makes his way, and it's like one of those bad movies where they get ready for the scene that's going to happen. And he yells, he steps up onto the stage, and he kind of just puts his hand out to what'd you say his name was? Jeffrey?
Johnny is your
Johnny. Yeah, puts his hand out to Johnny, expecting him to put the mic in it.
Oh, yeah. He turns around and he just sort of looks. Oh, Toph. I didn't. I thought Ruben was gonna. Ruben, why didn't you sort it out? I did. Well, I tried. He's not leaving. Toph, I'm really sorry, says Johnny. Like the others, they asked me. I said yes.
Yeah, I think Toph would if he doesn't hand him the mic, Toph would take the mic from him and just with his other hand just give him a nice firm shove down.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to make you roll for it. That's easy. He's a human being.
Yeah. And he goes one of these blows in the mic, and he goes, "Hello, everyone. So, who's ready for the show?"
You hear a raucous wave of people baying to hear music. They pay for live music, and
yeah, I know.
10 minutes later, so
and he's like, "Well." He looks back at his band, and they all probably have that edgy look that's like, what the fuck's he gonna do? And he's like, well, seems that you won't be hearing me tonight. Something's wrong with my throat. So with Johnny here, gonna take care of things, right, Johnny? And he's looking down at Johnny on the wherever he fell. And he says, I wish you well, Johnny. Wish you well. And he's going to drop the mic and just push his way through the crowd, head out to the street.
Yeah, and you sweep away.
He probably staggers his way. I mean, he's pretty loaded.
Excellent. We return now to the club, Cirque de Soir. On the lower floors, it is known as the cabaret circus venue, where you sit around on vast plush sofas watching amazing acts of death-defying bravery. Some would call idiocy, fire-breathing, sword-swallowing. There's all different kinds of juggling and burlesque going on. Though I imagine you don't enter through the front, Donica.
No, rarely. Only when he literally has to. He'll come in like a service entrance.
For sure. You're able to go out to the office, and if otherwise, you have any other ideas, Siegfried, are you still there?
Yeah, Siegfried wouldn't have gone. I think he probably would know that Donica would be there soon, and that would give them a chance to touch up on what's going on.
Perfect. In that case, Donica, you walk into the office. Siegfried's there. Over to you.
Yeah, he'll just flow into the office like a shadow and sit in the chair opposite Siegfried and give him a nod. Who's it from? Where are you going?
He'll just hold up the ticket as if you could read it telepathically from where he's sitting. But then lean over and hand it to you so you can read it. Opera opening night tomorrow. Best seat in the damn house. Not cheap, not easy. Whoever it is, they didn't sign it. Didn't say who or why or for what for. Maybe a bribe? I don't know.
Maybe a meeting.
Perhaps.
Hmm.
Either
Ooh.
way, it seems worth looking into. Plus, I'll just kind of like shrug and laugh. Genuinely want to see the show anyways, regardless of the intrigue.
Could be dangerous.
Big public place like that, it'd be risky to try to pull anything off there.
Hmm.
Big crowd.
It would be poetic. You know what our kind are like. Murder at the opera sort of business. I think you should go, and I think it'll be useful. Just keep your wits about you.
Of course. I can take care of things. I'll just kind of give you that look.
It is at this point there is another knock upon the door.
Who is it?
Achoo!
What?
You're supposed to say achoo who through the door.
Danica looks at Siegfried like, what is this? Who is this idiot? What's happening here?
The door opens, and there, almost silhouetted in the darkness, is a familiar individual. He has a wide-brimmed black hat, long black flowing coat with a red shirt. Jonah. My friends, it has been some time.
Danica will look at Siegfried for a second with this look of like, okay.
Yeah,
What?
Siegfried will wince, like as if someone had like slapped him across the face. Just like, why? And he'll just return that look to Donica, like, oh no, no.
To what do we owe this unexpected pleasure to have a Primogen come and visit us here at our pokey little establishment?
Pokey, why indeed? How wonderful this all is. You have established a mighty empire. I am humbled myself, my good friends. I bring a gift for you. May I? And he opens his jacket as if to say, can I reach for my whatever's in there?
Danica nods as if he could stop him.
He reaches into his coat and he throws you an object to catch.
I will try and catch it.
Well, you're an Nosferatu. You catch it easily, just on pure reflex.
Yeah, so I'll catch it like a cool guy, like without barely looking, and then I'll have a look at it, see what it is.
Perhaps you should have looked in at what it is, because you've just caught a grenade.
I see. Is it like out?
No, the pin's in.
Okay.
But you can, but you can see the look in Jonah's eye, like he saw, like the flash of maybe panic for a millisecond.
Did you bring me a grenade, Jonah? Why?
Well, that is just an example of the many gifts that I can bestow upon you. I have a favor to ask you, Donica and Siegfried. I need a little bit of backup.
Backup in a fight?
No, not a fight. Just an unpredictable situation. And I need people who are fast on their feet and fast on their brain.
Unpredictable is so unlike you. Any more information than that you'd be willing to bestow upon us? And kind of like eye the grenade he's so kindly thrown at Donica.
I am going to an arms dealer who has recently set up shop. And quite frankly, I don't want to go on there on my own because it's new. I need to, case the joint. Is that the right word? But I would rather not go alone. And to be frank, I don't really have the staff up in Bedlam that are really suited for this particular delicate task.
Right.
Is this dealer a kindred then? If you're that worried about it, that you need vampire backup?
I only know his name.
And just so I know, Rob, like you can't sell guns in England, right? It's illegal. Right?
You cannot sell
Yeah,
guns
okay.
in England.
Just wanted to be double sure because I was pretty sure.
This is one.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. This is 100% an illegal arms dealer, an underground arms dealer.
I'm so much more on board.
His name is Adam.
Well, I'm overwhelmed with all this intel that you have, Jonah. I'm sure there'll be no surprises and everything will go exactly as planned. But we'll be happy to help you because we are your friends and you help us.
Is that it? You'll just help?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to sort of encourage us
I'll give you money. Oh my goodness me. It's very sad when I have to pay to hang out with my friends.
You don't have to pay to hang out with us. You can come hang out here anytime you like. But if you want
I've
to
not
go
heard
and
from you in 6 months, Donica. Busy, busy bee.
do have a lot going on. Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Why don't you give me your email address and I'll put you in my newsletter.
Your newsletter. Well, I don't have an email address, but I do have a bucket on the corner of a particular road.
I see.
Maybe we can print it off and drop it by, Siegfried will say as a joke.
Jonah just looks at you, and for a second, it's like he sees right through you into your very soul. And then he steps back and says, "Are you busy this evening?"
Well, we just have to run this club, but I suppose we could leave Francis in charge if it's tonight.
Yes. Yes, that delightful fellow. I see he has been encouraged to work here.
Yes, he's a valued employee.
Very valued indeed. I had a ghoul once, but then I forgot about him in a cupboard for 8 years. So, I'm ready to go when you are.
Oh, right now.
Oh.
Okay, you just give us a couple of minutes and we'll sort out Francis and put some things in order and we'll meet you outside.
Where are the other two?
What are the two?
The other two. The Bruja. Deventry. Where are they?
Siegfried will kind of like awkwardly scratch at the back of his neck. They have other business that they've decided to attend to.
Oh, do me a favor, Siegfried. Bring them along.
Oh, we don't know where they are, Jonah.
Well, you have this email thing, whatever you call it. Use that.
I have tried that. I have in fact tried a great deal of sleuthing and investigation, and I can find. Well, I know where the Bruja is. He's probably in a puddle of his own piss and drool somewhere.
Let's get him along.
I'll call him.
Yes, please. I'll wait. And he leans against the wall and he just stares at you, Siegfried. Toff, your mobile is ringing. It's still smashed, I presume.
Yeah. It's only been 6 months. Don't rush a guy to fix his phone. He's probably staggering down the street. It probably goes vibrates several times in his back pocket before he realizes that it's his phone. He's like, kind of fumbles with it. And anytime you've had a few too many, he's just kind of like holding his phone, trying to like read it. Hello?
Tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you?
On the street. Under a street lamp.
I see.
I think.
What city are you in?
He grabs a passenger walking by. He pulls him up close. He's like, "What city is this?"
Sorry, I was muted. The passerby says, what do you mean?
Where am I? And he's kind of like holding him.
Let me go. The man starts bleating.
Yeah, he lets him go, kind of pats him on the cheek, says, "Thank you." Did you hear that?
Where are you? Are you in London?
Camden. So Camden is an area in London. That's where.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I thought
there's like a delay. Yeah, and he's like, "London. Just got back a couple weeks ago, I think. Taking a break from the band." And he starts going into this whole diatribe about the band, which probably you care nothing about. He's leaning up against this lamppost.
Yeah, Donica's like, yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So how you been? Siegfried still around?
Yeah, can you come to the club?
Yeah, sure. Like right now?
Right now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not wearing my. Yeah, sure, I'll be right there.
Okay.
Yeah, so he'd flag down a cab.
Trying to go like put the phone down and look at Jonah. He's on the way.
And it isn't long before Toff, you arrive at the club and you're at the door of the office. Francis, the ghoul manager, has led you up. They're expecting you, sir.
Yeah, I think he just walks right in. Doesn't knock or anything. Doesn't even say anything to Francis. He probably would pause for a second in the doorway, though, once he sees Jonah. And kind of do one of these, like, shakes his head, double takes. And then he'll look at Donica. And then he'll look at Sig. Then he looks back at Donica and he frowns.
Donica will have a face on him that says, "I called you because he's standing in the room and he would kill me if I didn't."
Yeah, there's probably like it's unspoken. Yeah, it's unspoken.
People and even just say out loud, like, "Hey, if we have to be in this, you do too, buddy."
Yeah, he nods, understanding. He goes, "What is it? Another tiger? How is your tiger?"
Saracen is doing very well, Bruja. Thank you for asking. He has quite the appetite these days.
Does he like music?
Oh, yes.
This evil grin kind of spreads across Toff's face. He goes, "I think my old band would like to maybe play for you. I think Saracen would really like it. We could talk about that later, though. What do you need?" And he's starting to sober up a little bit.
As I was explaining to our dear friends here, we're going on a little bit of a shopping trip.
I think again, it's the looks to Siegfried and Donica. Like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Siegfried will just like hold out a hand with the finger pointed at the hand grenade that's on Donica's desk right now. And just like shrug.
And as you look at the grenade and then you look at Donica, he's doing this gesture, which is like there's money involved, which maybe is just enough for Toph to just say, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. I think he would kind of walk over, pick up the grenade, and just try to like toss it. It is from hand to hand as he's listening.
You will have to stop doing that immediately. It makes me very uncomfortable.
He's like, oh, this? And he kind of juggles it a little bit. And then he just sets it on the table. He doesn't want to piss Donica off. He's seen what he's done before.
Yeah, he's just nervous, like, because if it was like a freshly bought one, that would be fine. But it's like Jonah's had this in his pocket for who knows how long, and like the slightest jolt might cause it to explode, and he's very wary of it.
So, we're going to go to Brixton. There is a beautiful subterranean establishment that we'll be visiting. I emphasize that word. I thought you'd enjoy that, Donica. And we're going to go and speak with an arms dealer. I intend to open a large contract with him. Now, of course, I could pay you with money, but I could just, put you on the tab if you want.
I suppose when we have a look at the merchandise, we might make a decision on what the best decision is.
Absolutely. I don't mind peeking at the presents beneath the tree. Let's away. We'll take my car.
Great. And like Siegfried will like stand up, like take his jacket off and like hang it up before they go, not wanting to. At this stage, he's like surprisingly more comfortable with this whole situation. He won't protest Jonah in the way that he did 6 months prior. He'll just kind of like look over to Donica, like, I guess we're doing this.
Yeah. On the way out, Donica will just like give Francis a really quick like, we're going, probably won't be back tonight. Keep the place in order.
Yes, sir. If you all follow Jonah outside, it doesn't take many guesses to discover which is Jonah's automobile. You see that it is actually ploughed into the corner of the building left of your club. The windscreen is smashed. There appears to be half a tree sticking out of one of the windows. It's a Bentley, so it's a very expensive car, but it's like wrecked.
Will we? Nope. Yeah, I guess we're good with this. He was going to suggest getting a taxi, but there's no possible way we're putting Jonah in a car with a taxi driver.
After what can easily be described as the most terrifying journey of your life, you arrive. He's driving. There's no sign of Squeak, strangely. His small Nosferatu friend with the Santa hat. You finally arrive in Brixton, and you're all able to pile out the car, and Jonah begins leading you down what appears to be sort of like steps to go beneath a warehouse, but they lead quite far underground. This is the place, he says.
Yeah, Donica will look at the others like, I guess we just follow him and hope nothing happens.
Something tells me something's going to happen. Just be a matter of what.
I think Toph throws an arm around you, Siegfried, and he says, "Don't worry. I'm sure Donnie will keep us safe." and he would start following along.
So at the bottom of this staircase, Jonah basically shoves open a half-rotted wooden door. Its blue paint is chipping off. And you would all be walking into complete darkness, but that generally isn't too much of a problem for you guys. And then there's this vast sort of corrugated chain gate that Jonah has to sort of like struggle with like a latch to like push open, and eventually it does. And you're sort of on the subterranean level of this big kind of warehouse. It's just one huge open space. And you can see that there appears to be sort of like a work office at the far end of this space. As you approach, Jonah is whistling as you reach the source of the light. And with a knock on the door, there is a short pause. "Come in," a voice says. "After you, Donica," says Jonah.
He'll go first. Not super worried. Actually, I might do an awareness roll if that's okay, to get to see if I can sense if this is something supernatural. Is it awareness?
Yeah, sure. That's awareness. Hang on, let me, because I need to remember how to play this game. Awareness and what would go with that? That would be perception,
I
I'd
think.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah. First roll of the night.
Yes. And is it 7 or higher for success, or 6?
6 or higher for this one, please. Difficulty 6.
So 2, I got.
You know, there is something gives you like a strange feeling as you get closer to the door. It's almost like you're feeling a kind of aura of something. Quite what you don't understand, but its origin is seemingly unnatural.
Yeah, I'll give a quick look to Siegfried. I think at this stage, like, they've been together for such a long time that he can give like a sort of look of like potentially trouble in here, and then he'll walk in.
The door opens, and before you see this office has been converted into a ramshackle-looking weapons shop. You see the walls are bedecked with different types of semi-automatic, fully automatic weapons. There are like crates of them, you know, those silver crates that are opened up and you can just slot loads of them in like that. You can see on the other side that there are a number of other different weapons. There's stun guns, there's riot batons, riot shields. You see that there is also what looks to be a heavy machine gun that would be mounted onto something and would fire large, I can't even remember the casings. Just big fucking bullets, put it that way. But the thing that is most alarming to you all, not the display of such weaponry, which I will remind you, in the UK, you know, this doesn't happen that often. Behind what looks to be this makeshift desk is one of the strangest looking individuals you believe you have ever seen. It appears to be a patchwork of a human being. Different tones of skin have been sewn together. One arm looks longer than the other. There is strange mismatched look in his eyes. One of them is bright blue. One of them appears to be glowing green. As a matter of fact, the entirety of this thing appears to be glowing green. And Jonah says, Oh, that's what you are. No wonder you keep that a secret, he says. And he turns around to you, you guys, and he says, "It's a Promethean."
Donegal will nod as if he knows what that is. He does not.
No. If you like, if you think story-wise, you might have a good chance of maybe hearing about these. These are actually a creature that do inhabit the world of darkness. Toph, I reckon that you might have heard of them. If you give me like an occult roll or something, that would be cool. See if you actually know what they are.
What does a cult go off of? I do have a cult.
So knowledge occult, I would
Is it
just say that would be
intelligence?
intelligence. Yeah,
Yeah.
intelligence and
Okay.
occult, please.
Perfect. Nope.
No,
I mean, Toph does.
okay.
Toph kind of does like Donica. He's like, but the others would know just by the look in his face that he has no idea what this is.
Sure. Well, Jonah says it as if like you understand what this is. He just assumes, and he says, "I believe I am talking to Adam." And the strange-looking man with the glowing green eye says, "Yes. How may I be of service?" And that is where we're going to take a very brief break. For those of you watching live or after the fact, welcome back to Performance Check. It's been a little while, and it's really good to be back playing Vampire the Masquerade London. We're going to take a very short break, and we will be back shortly. Thank you, guys. Be right back. I have returned. What are our thoughts and feelings?
Interesting note to step back in on. Just get right back into insanity. I like it.
Yes. It's you're definitely on high alert, put it that way, when he's around. So it's a good way to get you on your toes quickly.
It's a nice way to like kind of disrupt because like once you come back after a long time, I figure like at that point like the characters kind of settle into routine again if you're just kind of like living day-to-day life. So it's a very kind of nice way to jumpstart back into like the RPG exceptionalism sort of aspect of the game rather than just like we're just living and running a business.
For sure. So we're all back. Let's continue. Jonah, it seems, is now having a quiet word with Adam, the Promethean. And the three of you are sort of left stood in the corner, left to admire the vast array of firearms in this room, with your own thoughts and feelings.
Donica knows nothing about guns at all. They all look lethal and impressive, but he doesn't know what any of them do or what they're worth or anything like that. There's no information on this at all, and he feels a bit out of his depth. He also feels very awkward. Probably hasn't spoken to Toph in months, and this is not an ideal sort of reunion. Would have liked to have a chat or discuss, but instead we're here with Jonah and this Frankenstein creature, and you can't have a talk now. And so he's just sort of standing sort of awkwardly, unsure of what to, rarely for Donegan, unsure of what he should do or what he should say or how he should comport himself.
Yeah, at this stage, the mundanity of the arms deal, which 10 minutes ago was exciting compared to everything, is now it seems so trivial compared to the fact that there's this strange creature who is in fact the one who's running it. And similar to Don, he doesn't know what this thing is or what to make of it. And the fact that it's Jonah, while he's more comfortable with it than last time, it's still always a wild card. There's kind of that awkward nothing is happening, but at the same time, anything could happen at any second. So you kind of have to stay on guard. So we'll just kind of be looking around. And I think at one stage he'll probably make eye contact too with Toph with kind of the same look of just nice to see you, buddy. Aren't you glad to be back? Which is this uncomfortable shrug.
Yeah, and I think as you look at Toph, you would see he's very uncomfortable, on edge. His hands are kind of not in tight balls, but he definitely has his hands clenched. The last time he ran into anything that was not normal or not natural, that was kind of patchwork, it ended in Toph being tossed out a third-story window. And so he is very much on edge. So he's looking at you, Sig, but he's not that kind of carefree facade that he typically puts up. He definitely looks like he's ready for something.
Yeah, I think that would be kind of apparent too on your face. And Siegfried even kind of give you a light slap on the shoulder. Well, come on, Toph. You can't say that I'm less nervous here than you are. You going soft after 6 months? Say it meant as a joke, but it'll probably come off more cutting than he means it to.
Yeah, he probably just looks at you and missing the joke or the jibe. He just kind of snarls at you a little bit, maybe a little bit of that more feral Bruja coming out. And then he catches himself and he smiles. You're right, Sig. Right. It's good to see you. Wish it was under better circumstance. And then you would see him look back to Jonah and Adam.
Sig will pull his hand back when you kind of snarl for a second. I'm just kind of whoa. And I'll just kind of put a hand up like that. I didn't mean anything by that. And then just kind of fall back into awkward silence. And I just look around at the two of them and to Jonah.
Donica is thinking that like probably hard to buy guns here, and that is valuable, even if he doesn't want to buy them. The fact that he can know someone who can, like, it's just a contact, a useful one to have, and so he's gonna like take a few steps forward and try and introduce himself to Adam. He's
Yeah.
very nervous though, because like he gets the feeling that this thing is like a big deal.
Yeah, Jonah's actually busying himself. He seems to end his conversation with Adam and starts looking at different cases. As you approach, he says, "You know, I'm fresh out of C4, Donica, so I'm just going to have a look at the new stuff. Why don't you introduce yourself?" He almost sort of like senses that that's why you've moved forward. He's essentially, not too subtly, trying to set you up with this arms dealer. So you see Adam, and while the blue eye is piercing, it's like the green one sees straight through you. And he says, "I haven't seen many of your kind here."
I've never seen any of your kind anywhere.
No. No, there aren't many of us. We are a strange phenomena.
I'm Donica.
Nice to meet you, Donica. It's almost like there's no emotion, no kind of, not personality, but there's nothing kind of like really behind those words. It's all sort of, it's like a machine almost. Nice to meet you, Donica. As I understand it, perhaps a working relationship can be accomplished here.
That would be my hope. Yes. It's
As
fine.
it would. Sorry, go ahead.
He would just say something like, "Fine stock you have here."
Thank you. This is not the most easy nation I have operated within. I have to assemble these all myself. I purchase the parts separately. But as my kind don't really have the need to sleep, I have a lot of time on my hands, as a matter of fact. And he looks sort of like into the distance, saying, "Time is all I have."
Well, we are somewhat alike in that, at least.
Very true.
You make these yourself?
Correct. I purchase all of the separate parts from the dark web and have them delivered to different addresses. I then have a courier bring them separately to this address under the guise that this is a new factory.
And can you make other things?
I can make anything.
Ah. Yes, well, this will be hopefully a very nice and useful working relationship. I think that with me as a sort of liaison, I could acquire you a lot of business.
That is what I was hoping you would say. I understand that it is your kind that are, what's the word? I don't actually remember the word now. It's while I head industrious.
We like to connect people and share information.
Yes. I would be very interested, actually, and would pay handsomely to have something representing my services on, what is it that you call it? Your hub of information, ShrekNet.
Yes, that's right. I can create that for you.
Your friend, he motions with his eyes, his mismatched eyes, to the Malkavian, who's still just perusing the C4. Your friend, he has explained to me the nature of the circumstances among your kind currently. Now, while this obviously hasn't been in game, it probably won't have avoided. No, actually, it would have avoided Toph's notice because he hasn't been around. But for Siegfried and Donica, you are aware that the vampiric kind in London, all the different clans, have very much kind of divided and kept themselves to themselves. The last 6 months have been the quietest ever. Obviously, that's not saying much considering the explosive nature of the first couple of months when you embraced the hospital, Winchester, and everything to do with the Camarilla. It seems like, to both of you at least, that the clans are battening down the hatches, as it were.
Donica's experience would suggest to him that normal bullets don't really hurt vampires very much, or they hurt about as much as a punch from a vampire. And so he would kind of think, like, if I'm battening in the hatches and trying to like get my people ready, am I going to want to buy guns, or am I going to want to buy like Winchester guns? And so he would ask Adam, can you make incendiary rounds, things of that nature?
Why, of course. It is not an easy procedure with the equipment that I have here, but I have been known to make them in the past. But I make them to order. You understand, they are very highly sought after.
Yes. And would you have much experience in making weapons to fight my kind?
And he smiles. Oh, yes. And it's the first display of emotion this creature has ever shown.
That is good. Well, I'll have to speak with my superiors briefly before I can make any sort of definite decision, but I do think it's very likely that we will want to place a significant order.
Excellent. Well, as long as they are all your kind, not to sound elitist, it is for their own safety. I emanate a certain sickness. It does not affect your kind, but it would affect anyone who was alive. I do not wish to assume that you operate in those circles, but it's prudent to be sure. Many have suffered when they have stood in my presence before.
Janica has this like puzzled face, like he's not really sure. And then he's like thinking, and the guy is glowing green, and like maybe he's radioactive or something like that. And he's like trying to piece that together. But he says, "Are we the only people of our kind that you have been dealing with, or maybe you can't say?"
I am afraid I have to keep a close guard on those that I service.
Understandable. Well, for now, it's been lovely to meet you, and I'll be in touch. If you want to give me some information, I can create you a website on ShrekNet.
Thank you. And he's able to hand you any details that you might need. And you know, because when dealing with ShrekNet, like you've got to like set up like proxy servers and things like that to ensure like an it'd have its own marketplace as well, just like the dark web, where you can essentially buy anything if you know how to do it. So he provides you essentially like almost like a shopping list of everything that he has available, from assault rifles to hand grenades, and then bespoke products that would require him to make to order, such as phosphorus rounds and dragon's breath. What's it called? Shotgun ones. What are they called? What do you call shotgun rounds?
Slugs.
Slugs, sure.
Shells.
Slugs. Shells. Thank you. Shotgun shells. Yes, there we are.
Yeah, so Donica's plan would be to basically set this up so that anyone who wants to go to Adam has to go through him. That he's like the contact, which is beneficial for Adam, but also very beneficial for Donica.
Now, how much for your services? And I know you haven't thought about that, Lloyd, so if you want, we can just hand wave and we can work that out at another time, but it's up to you.
Yeah, it would be a percentage of some kind.
Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah.
So like whatever the more that I work for him and the more people that come to him, the more that I make. And the more that he makes, the more that I make, which lends to, I think, probably like a better business relationship than like a flat fee or like a, that kind of thing.
Excellent. So with the business concluded, is there anything else that any of you would like to do whilst you're here?
Nah, Toph likes to use his hands, so he's not interested in guns in any way.
And that is exactly the quality that is going to be called upon you now. Jonah says, well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to meet you. And he shakes Adam's mismatched arm. I would like all of those delivered as we established to my address here. However, I would like to take that with me now. And he points at the heavy machine gun on the wall. Adam just gives a nod, and Jonah turns and says, Toph, would you mind?
There would be like a sigh from Toph, but he would be glad just to freaking be moving. He was getting impatient. So he goes over, grabs the gun. Maybe there's a box or a case of ammo there, and he reaches down, so he grabs the gun with one, and he's pretty strong, and he grabs the ammo, which is probably pretty heavy, and lifts it up too, and he goes, are we done now? Can we go?
And with a laugh, Jonah gives a nod, and a tip of his hat, he sweeps from the room. Yeah, you're able to awkwardly somehow manage to fit the heavy machine gun into the back of the Bentley. And Jonah turns around and claps his hands and says, is there anywhere you need dropping, gentlemen?
I'd like to go down street, if you don't mind.
Anywhere else?
Siegfried will look over to Toph. Say, you got any plans for the night?
Toph's probably like jamming this gun into the trunk as he slams it shut. He goes, no, not really. And he would look at Dawn and says, maybe some catching up, I guess.
Maybe.
Good. And so as the doors of the car close, we see the doors of an underground train open. The familiar sight of the clown masked individual that sits at the front of the carriage looks at you dispassionately as you all board the car to Down Street. With a hiss, the doors close.
Yeah, I would just say to them that I need to speak with Fag a little bit and see if he's interested or what the situation is with Adam. And once that's done, we can go have a drink in the, what was it called? The gross pub under Fig.
In Down Street,
Yeah,
the gutter.
the gutter. Yeah, which is a place that more and more Donica like finds very charming, but he understands that it's really gross. It's funny because like his perception of beauty has changed a lot as a Nosferatu. Like he doesn't not find things beautiful; he just finds different things beautiful. So like flowers, he's like, yeah, whatever. But there's something like about the ramshackle nature of the gutter that he finds like very aesthetically pleasing somehow, and like that's shifted a lot in his like several months of immortality.
The interesting thing is, with 6 months on your side, you've learned a lot more about your kind. And now with an access to ShrekNet, you have been in communication with far more Nosferatu than you ever were before. And what is clear to you now, which wasn't so much before, is that the Nosferatu really, really value their solitary nature. If anything, they don't interact with each other unless they really have to. Meaning that down street, the few Nosferatu that sort of linger around here, making it sort of a bit of a special case. And really, those that are here, you have learned, are basically there under Fage's sort of watch, as it were, for various duties that none of them speak of, strangely. As you all arrive, the first thing that you see as you enter the gutter and go to the stairs, you can just enter these days without announcing yourself, are the two childlike Nosferatu twins that stand in shadow at the top of the stairs and are just watching you.
I think Donica has become used to them and many of the sort of weirdos who hang out in this place, and so he doesn't feel that same sort of like shiver of like grossness that he used to feel when he sees them, and just sort of gives each of them like a little nod and a wink as he like makes his way up to Fage's office. But he understands that probably for Siegfried and for Toph, like these are particularly freaky. He also would wonder like if it's legal to make a child a vampire by the masquerade, like by the Camarilla, and he would assume that's not legal. And he would just, question that.
I think upon seeing the two kids, Toph immediately stops like in his tracks. As Donica keeps walking, he's looking at these kids. He's not been to downtown, months, well before Tess was taken away. But that's the memory that he has. That was the last time he saw these kids, is when Tess was. And he kind of smiles a little bit because it was Tess being Tess. And it smiles at that memory, and he remembers scolding her because it was like that naivety of seeing a child and thinking they're a child when these are not children, these are things. So he smiles a bit, and it probably looks a little out of place as he's smiling at these kids before he kind of comes out of this daydream or night dream, I guess, and kind of shakes himself free of the memory. But it's unsettling to him, and then he would just kind of quickly follow behind Donica.
Yeah, Sig will like walk up beside Donica. Imagine at this point that it's like pretty common with the way that they've had like meetings and stuff. So he'll just like look over and say, "Talking to him on your own, or are we going in as a crew?"
Tricky, because there was a lot of talk about not trusting Toph in previous months, that he ratted Donica out to the Camarilla and all that sort of stuff. And so I think that he would be wary of going in to tell Fage that I have this arms deal connection. Do you want to arm our people for the revolution? When there's a chance that Toph might go and tell Mr. G,
I think there's that, like, he'll just see the look on your face at this stage, like working in business with you at this stage. I think that says enough to Siegfried at this point. He'll just kind of like grab Toph's shoulder, say, "Let's go catch up while Don talks. We'll meet you at the gutter." And just kind of give a nod.
If I remember correctly, we're actually in the gutter, aren't we? Isn't Faig's office on the second floor of the
Yeah,
gutter?
it's above
Yeah.
it, but downstairs is the gutter. That's fine. So you can go back downstairs if you wish.
Yeah. Toph doesn't force the issue. He actually smiles, kind of throws an arm around you again, pulls you uncomfortably close. Sigyn says, "Sounds like a great idea." And he would just yell up to Don, "Don, you don't mind if we catch up?"
Not at all.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Actually, that sounds like a great idea to Toph.
Okay, let me think. Jeff, do me a favor. Roll me a d10. Odds, we'll start with Donica. Evens, we'll start with you and Toph.
That's a 10.
Even Stevens. So, wait, which one did I say? Evens is we'll start with you and Toph, right?
Me and Toph, yeah.
I'll see if I remember them. So you both go back downstairs, and it's as you remember. There's sort of like this low-hanging smoke in the tavern, and janky, weird music plays through a broken jukebox, and the same Nosferatu barkeep is there with long fingers that he can use to easily clean pint glasses with a dirty rag. And he just gives you a look as you re-enter the gutter.
Sig will just look over to Toph. "Whatever you want, man. I got you." And I'll like nod towards the bar.
Toph would give one of those really over the top kind of reactions, like, "Oh, it's the club owner." Sure. I can't remember the drink we had the first time we were here, but that's definitely something Toph would want. Grab a table.
Perfect.
So
Yeah, and I don't know how attentive Toph would be to Sig and like body language in his state right now, but at the very least, like you would see that he's like a lot more comfortable in this place than he was the last time that we were here 6 months ago. Like before, he was like constantly looking at all the grime and the vampires, just like ugh, kind of shivering at it. And this time he's just kind of here. He's not necessarily admiring it like Don was, but it doesn't seem to like set him off in the same way.
yeah, I think as they're sitting down, and they take that first drink, there's that moment where one's waiting for the other one to maybe start the conversation. Of course, Toph doesn't have patience for that, so it's not very long. He says, "You look good, look really good." Clears his throat. So the 6 months have been good for you then?
Yeah, they have actually. It's the club's going well. Things are starting to kind of get on track. I feel like I'm starting to get the hang of it. You know?
Toph smiles. It's kind of that smile you would see on a parent when their kid nails that performance that they've been training for. He's like, "I knew you could do it, Sig. Knew you all could do it." So, I'm not with my band anymore. He laughs. He goes, we had some creative differences, so we've decided mutually we would part ways. It's probably for the better anyways. They were holding me back. I'm gonna start a new band, I think. Maybe go out on my own. And he kind of leans in close. He's kind of like energized now as he starts talking about music, and he realizes your background. And he leans in close and he says, "Hey, any chance you could help me out? I mean, I remember seeing playbills with you on it. Before. Do you know people? Maybe."
Look, I don't mean this. It's not an insult, and like genuinely, it's not an insult. I don't know if the people that I work with and this type of music that you do. I mean, it's just not really like the right. He's like trying to find a delicate way to like say like the like uptight, like high class opera crowd that he's run with is probably not
Yes.
going to be the same sort of people that Toph wants to work with or would want to work with him in kind.
Yeah, I think Toph seeing you struggling with that kind of just waves it off to kind of like spare you. And he goes, "Yeah, I understand. It's okay. It's okay. I understand. Teach their own,
I mean,
huh?"
it's easier than ever to go solo these days, though. I mean, with like YouTube and SoundCloud and everything, you can just pop it right on the internet and it's shared around, and it's
You get like this blank stare from Toph, and he's like nodding, but it's kind of like anytime Toph nods when he like has no clue what the F you're talking about. He's like, YouTube, SoundCloud. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, we were branching out into those things, you know, the band and I. And he looks over back to the stairs, you know, really uncomfortable because anytime he likes to feel competent, and he realizes he is not competent when it comes to like this newer technology, but he's getting better. He looks over to the stairs and he goes, "So how's Don been? Is he still mad?"
he's always got his next thing. He's just been going, building, going strong. The club, the other stuff. You know how he is.
Mm,
It's he's always got a project.
yeah, he's always working the angle. He'll lean in close
Yeah.
to you. So like, not that I don't know if there's even any other people here other than those creepy kids and the bartender, who's equally creepy. Toph leans in close and he says, "Listen, this isn't easy for me. I swear to God, Sig, if you tell Donica, I will break you." But he's right. I was wrong. I thought I was doing the right thing by Tess. But these last few months, I've been texting her nothing. And I think I really fucked up. But I don't know if I want to tell Dawn that. And he kind of looks at you, and you would see like, well, vampires don't cry, like cry tears, right? And you see this edge of tear in his eye, and he kind of realizes it, wipes it away. And much like you, he kind of has the blush of humanity. So you'd almost see this flush, like he's embarrassed by that kind of that, and he kind of like, right. So this will be between just you and I, not a secret. It's just I want to wait for the right time to do it, Sig. You know, Don, he's a good guy, but
Well, and Siegfried will kind of have this like moment on his face of like retroactive guilt as he like has just been going on and on about how great he and Don's life have been in the last 6 months. And there's kind of that realization that will set in that perhaps time has not been so kind to Toph, and he'll feel guilty despite not knowing that he had gone on just bragging about their success, and just kind of like shake his head. Hey, this time you're not keeping a secret about selling him out. And he'll kind of like laugh, like in that like I'm not holding a grudge, like I get it kind of way.
yeah, he would kind of laugh.
We've tried to to hear from her. We can't. Nothing. It's not just you. I don't
Nothing
know
at
if they're
all.
just keeping her locked away from that sort of stuff, or if she's moved on. I'll kind of like say nervously.
So Toph thinks of for some reason Toph really is just drawn to Siegfried, and feels that he can trust him. He listen. I think she's okay. I have to think she's okay. You know, I have to.
Mm.
And if you if you've heard anything about her, you tell me, right? Dawn would tell you, right?
I think Siegfried will like open up his phone and like scroll down to like the last like 8 texts that he sent to Tess and just like show it on the screen to Toph of just like what's going on, like how have you been, and just like getting more and more until eventually it just like stops and seeing that there's like nothing back, and he'll just kind of
Yeah.
like hold it up and shrug.
I think Toph would
I mean-
silently drop. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he'll like set the phone down and just kind of give that shrug of like, I'm being real right now, and he'll just kind of shake his head. We all have to find our own ways to get comfortable with all this. For me, it's this the club has been good. For her, I think we always knew that she would need something different than that to get acclimated. I'm with you. I think we just have to assume that what she's doing is right for her, and that she's doing this by choice, because the alternative is it'll just trail off.
Toph would sit back in his seat. His eyes would just still be kind of on your phone, almost expectantly, like this is the time. It's at this moment that Tess is gonna respond to your last message you send her, but it doesn't happen. But he sits back in his seat and there's like the creaking of the wood, and he says, "You know, Tess was strong in her own way. I saw that in her. I'm not really good at those sorts of things, and I guess in my own awkward way, I tried to get you and Dawn to see that too. I just hope." And he kind of just, the glass that he's holding just, and there's just a spray of glass as he just shatters it. He goes, "People are going to pay if anything happens to Tess." That's the last thing he says. Then he probably looks down at his hand that's bleeding. This bits of shards of glass stuck in it. And he just looks down at it.
Yeah. So we'll just kind of like lean forward on his elbows on the table, like wipe away some of the glass that's like under your hand. Look, Toph, we can only always do what we think is right in that moment. What we do with the information that we have and the choices that we make. Can't look back and change what made you make that decision in the first place. You did what you did for Tess because you thought it was right, and in some sense, I think we know that it still was right for her, maybe for us. And it's tough to look back and wonder what's happened, and the radio silence, it sucks for me too. I know. But maybe you did the right thing. Maybe you didn't, but it felt right then, and you can't change that. All we can do is keep going with what we know now.
His
And hope.
hand. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. He grabs your hand and squeezes it firmly, and he draws you closer to him, and locking his eyes with yours, and he says, promise me we'll find Tess. We'll know that she's okay."
And trust me, if they did anything to her, I'll help you take G's head off myself.
Excellent. And he lets go of your hand. He goes, "Oh, I guess I'm gonna need another drink." And he gets up and goes to get another glass from the bartender.
Donica, my boy. Fag spreads his arms wide, those talon-like fingers wide as he welcomes you into his office. Would you like to stand, sit? Would you like a drink, huh?
I'd love a drink. He'll like say as he walks in and does this like sort of over the top bow um, until he like finds a seat and sits opposite Fag.
You watch Fag sort of like take a rat and squeeze it hard over a glass until every drop is out of it. And he slides the glass towards you, flings the carcass across the room. It hits the window with a thud. What can I do for you, boy? It is fortuitous that you have arrived here, for I have been meaning to speak with you.
I came to inform you that there's doings transpiring. I have managed to make contact with a Promethean who was also an arms dealer, who can make phosphorus rounds and incendiary rounds and all sorts of useful equipment that Kindred may like to purchase.
How many arms did he have, Donica, huh? Did they sew an extra one on for him? Huh?
Just the two, though they were at different lengths.
A joke at their expense. They are strange. They are very strange. I have only seen a few in my long lifetime. That is very interesting, Donica. Do you propose that we set up a contract with them?
I would think that if the information gets out that there are many, many weapons for sale that can be used to kill Kindred, with the current climate of everyone being very quiet and I'm sure stockpiling, we could make a lot of money. Is there anyone you would want me not to inform? Any clans you want to ensure don't get their hands on this stuff?
Everyone. Do not tell a soul, Donica. Think about it. This could be some kind of ploy. This could be some way of drawing our kind to get such weapons. It might be a test. But if we do not act first, then perhaps someone else does, huh? Difficult balance.
This is the thing. It was Jonah brought me there. I don't think he is in some sort of grand scheming operation, though you never know with him. But if he brought me there, it's very possible that he could bring someone else there.
It is interesting, and while the Malkavian might not be the schemer, how did he learn of this individual's position?
It's a good question.
I am glad you brought me this information, Danakar. And as I understand it, you have been making some progress with your new position. He refers to the fact that you've basically taken over Peter's job.
Yeah. Yes, I've set up everything. The equipment all seems fine, though we can always upgrade. But yes, I've been in contact with some of the other kindred of our kind through the ShrekNet. Just gaining information whenever I can.
Well, this is fortuitous. Have you been able to learn of anything to do with the other clans' movements? Now, it's entirely up to you, Lloyd, if you'll have done any work into this. If you reckon you will have, we can do a quick check now.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that Dunnick has been using ShrekNet to keep track of any sort of, if there's like a mysterious murder that happens in one part of town that is a little bit grisly, or if there's like a gunfight in this part of town or XYZ, basically just like anything that would trigger like a blip in his mind, he would then go like ask and see what he can find out.
Sure.
So what kind of check would it be?
That is a very good So this would be, let me see, computer, and or would it be investigation?
Good.
Let's say investigation intelligence. Actually,
Okay.
thinking about it.
It's going to be fun. Okay. This is very much my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
2, 3, 4. That's a 10. 5, 6.
Yeah. And it's as you'd heard before, really. Jonah wasn't wrong. The individual clans have been definitely battening down the hatches to the point where the most notable change throughout at least London society is that the World's End establishment where the Bruja used to dwell is no longer where they are. As a matter of fact, you learned quite recently that the Bruja have gone.
Did you say where they went, Rob, or just that they're gone?
No, they're gone.
Okay.
I'll say this is fairly relatively recent news to you, though, because I'm sure
Yeah.
otherwise you would have acted on it.
Yes. Sure. So I guess Donica would like inform him of like a few little bits and pieces he found out about like this particular vampire who did this thing or whatever, and then he would say, "Oh, and the Bruja are gone."
Gone where, Donica?
No idea. They're not at World's End anymore. They seemingly have vanished.
I do not like this, Donica. We have 6 months, 6 months, like one giant held breath. If I could breathe.
The Bruja are rebels, anarchists. I wonder, are they gone of their own volition or have they been removed?
The Bruja are loud. Wherever they have moved, we will know sure enough, unless, of course, they have been removed.
I'll look into it.
Many thanks. Many thanks.
You said you wanted to speak to me? Was it about this?
Indeed, it is connected. There appears to be a calm before a great storm. There is to be a meeting very soon between the clan heads and that of the Camarilla. It is a meeting that will be happening in 2 nights' time. I would have you attend if it please you. I know you do not like to be dealing with these Camarilla types, but this is much more of a even territory sort of deal. We
Yeah.
shall be... Sorry, go ahead.
He would kind of say, I more and more, I think the best way to deal with these people is to understand them. Yeah, you can't beat them if you don't get them. You can't. Well, you were right in the long run. The more time you spend with them, the less they look at you like you might be trouble.
Maybe so. But they are embarrassed. You can smell it. They dropped their guard. They dropped their guard, and now they no longer have their mutual self-destruction pact of having a prince sleep beneath their mighty tower. Now he is gone. Now everybody knows. It was not a secret that could be kept for long.
And so this prince being gone, that means that they don't have a nuclear option anymore.
Mithras could have wiped all of our clans clean from this world. with him missing. Some would say the doors to Ventru Towers has been left ajar.
Hmm. Well, that's interesting. Certainly good news. I do have a talent for sneaking into unlocked rooms.
And he gives you a big toothy grin. This meeting, it is to occur in a gallery above a restaurant in Soho, near to your club. I should remind you, it is a fine place, and it is technically neutral territory.
Okay. Good. Then we'll go. The Camarilla are hosting this evening?
It is been agreed that all will attend. It is mutually beneficial for us to have an open dialogue at this time.
I see. Yes, I think we could learn a lot from it.
I want you to keep your eyes open, Danica. This is a crucial time.
I will.
Is there anything else I can do? Anything else I can help my favorite up-and-coming NASA?
I don't think so. You still haven't heard from Tess. I would have asked Fag, I think, some time ago, maybe like a month ago, because Donica would have given up trying all of the things that he's tried, and he just would have, like, I think in desperation, just asked this like ancient magic vampire if maybe he somehow knows where she is and what she's doing.
I know where she is, yes.
Will you tell me?
She is in Edinburgh.
Why?
I know not. The clan of kings keep that very secret to themselves, you know? It is not a place that is abundant with our kind, but there are enough. There are enough.
Well, that's something to go on at least. Thank you.
Donica,
Yes?
the Ventru need to be watched more closely than any of the others. They are the ones that are exposed. They will be watching us, have no doubt.
Mm. And backed into a corner, they're more likely to lash out.
And he sort of like gives you a knowing look. As ever, always a pleasure. Oh, one more thing before you go. A fellow Nosferatu. He will introduce himself at some point when he gets around to it. His name is Lester. He is a fixer of some kind. I have instructed him that he is to be a liaison between you and I when you are, shall we say, otherwise engaged.
Very good. He'll like reach over and drain the rat juice in like one go and like wipe the blood from his mouth. It's really good. And he like means it, like it is really good.
Only the best. A vintage. He's been back there years, don't care. And with that, you can return to Siegfried and Toph. So, what is it you wish to do now?
I'll go down to the other two and have a drink with them.
How was the meeting? I'll just kind of give a raised eyebrow.
The usual. He made funny faces and laughed a lot.
Sounds about right. So we'll kind of like look around as far as like who else is in this bar because he doesn't want to speak too openly. I don't know how much privacy we have here.
I think Donica wouldn't be
Well,
too worried about talking about
yeah.
things in this bar. Like the Nosferatu who are here are all under Faye's command and control, and so I think like you wouldn't like be shouting from the rooftops about anything, but I think it's probably okay.
Yeah, Sig will kind of lean in close so that they're not like speaking too openly. But still he'll just kind of like look. So I'm all for making a buck, winning how we can, just as much as anyone, but anything that you've got planned with a stockpile of weapons that I should know about?
I think it might be a good investment. I
What
think
do we
that
need guns for?
we don't need guns, but other people need guns. And they're going to need more guns, I think, soon. If things keep going in the way that they're going, there's going to be fighting. There's going to be war, maybe even. And when that happens, if we have lots of guns, then we make lots of money. Currently, I have this contact, we have this contact, and that in itself is very valuable information. But if I tell one person about it, then they have a contact. And so I think I'm going to set up a process whereby they have to talk to me, and then I vet them, decide if this is the kind of person that I want to let buy weapons. So, for example, no Ventru.
Something tells me they've got their own people, and they never say it.
I'm sure they do. Even so,
That's all it is, an investment.
yeah. More and more, I think that Sig would know this as well, that Donica has like gone a bit less like revolution lined up against the wall sort of revolution, and more like a like take them apart from the inside, like change the process sort of revolution. He still feels like he wants to line them all up against the wall and deal with them. But I think he's like in 6 months would have realized that that's not possible. Not against the Camarilla, like they're way too powerful. But if you become rich enough
Well,
and you have enough influence, then you can make big changes.
well, we're in a pretty good place right now with money between the club and your other ventures. And we probably have plenty of room to work this deal for all it's worth, if that's what we want to do.
I think
Just make a lot of money.
if we stockpile certain kinds of ammunition that are hard to come by, hard to find, and extremely illegal, even in countries where they sell guns legally, then when it all kicks off, we can be the people who have the kindred killing bullets. Not that we would ever use them, of course, because you cannot kill kindred. But if someone else wants to buy bullets, that's really their own business. And what they do with it is not our concern.
One rule: don't mix the bullets in the club. I don't want them in the same spot.
Nowhere near it. No. I don't sell my my drugs in there. I'm not going to sell any guns in there.
I figured. I just wanted to make sure it's laid out in words. It's if we get people snooping around in one place, we don't want them getting mixed up in the other. Can't be too careful when we're running these sorts of things. They'll just kind of like look and remember that Toph is like sitting right next to them as they're talking about all this. They're just kind of like, oh, but then they'll just kind of like shrug.
I was just going to say the exact same thing. Like Donegal has been talking, and then he like realized the Toph is there, and just will go quiet.
You didn't hear any of that, Toph. We're not doing anything. There's no plans.
Toph probably just laughs a bit, doesn't say anything, just finishes his drink.
Sig will. Sorry, you go.
Danica would just like look at Tough like, "Is this funny? Like you ratted me out once." Just like look for a second, and then he's gonna try and drop it, and, like take a breath.
Sig will lean in a little closer, and talk even quieter, like as if talking about making incendiary rounds to sell against vampires was already not secret enough. I'll just kind of like almost a whisper say, "There's something else, not here. I want to show you guys something that I've figured out. Can't do it here."
Okay. Tess is in Edinburgh.
What? Why?
Unclear, but that's where she is.
And Sig will just kind of like chew his lip at that, like not knowing what to make of that. He'll kind of like eye towards Toph, who was just talking about like going on some crazy Rambo mission to save her. And we'll just kind of like raise an eyebrow.
Sig, you would see the wheels spinning in Toph's head when Donica, he hasn't said anything, but you could just see that he's already kind of probably thinking, all right, we're in London. She's in Edinburgh. How are we going to get, he's kind of thinking it through.
I assume that if she's there, it's because she wants to be.
But she's safe though, right? She's okay. Did Fag at least tell you that?
He didn't. Just that she is there.
You would see him look at the stairs, and it's probably the look on Toph's face, and Donica and Sig, you've seen it enough in the time that you guys spent together. Toph's just about to probably make a mistake as he looks at the stairs that lead up to Fag's office.
Not Faye. Donica would like see it and follow the look and just like give this like very clear like, of all the vampires that you could fuck with, like really don't fuck with Faye. He's like, he is ancient and he is patient with me because I am one of us. Nosferatu, but we are extremely private. He will not appreciate you knocking on his door.
It does seem to occur to you all, probably you most of all, Donica, if you'll have done extensive searches exactly for Tess, that it's troubling that he knows and yet has no technological know-how whatsoever.
Yeah, someone must have told him, would be my impression. So like he reckons it's like an old vampire cabal thing as opposed to like anything like that. And that's why she probably doesn't have a phone or anything like that.
Yeah, Sig, just to lend some like reassurance to Toph, will say, "Look, if Feg knew she was there, it means she's alive. If they wanted her dead, she'd be dead. So they must want her to be okay." Just like trying to logic it out in his mind. He doesn't know that that's true, but it at least feels right to say.
Yeah, I think Toph hearing that from you, Sig, he relaxes a bit in his seat and he kind of just sits back and he looks at Donica and says, so what do we do? We just listen, I understand. It's partly my fault that she's there. At least I feel that it's my fault. So what do? We just leave her there?
If we were to go and try and rescue, and he'll do like the
Yes, the air quotes.
Rescue her. We're making an assumption that she is not guarded by very powerful vampires who are much older than us. We're making the assumption that she doesn't want to be there. Maybe she does want to be there. Maybe she's found her kind, like I have. Maybe a lot of things. It's a long
And
way to go.
you're the one saying, Toph, all that was months ago. Mr. G on his own is no one to fuck with. You kept telling us how scary he was. And he's not the only one who's going to be there. And that is assuming, like Dawn says, that she's in trouble and needs help. At the very least, she wants to be there. And we'd be going all that way for nothing. And even if it is for something, the kind of people who are there are not the kind of people that we can step to and be okay.
What's troubling about it is that she won't talk to us, and that, frankly, that hurts. It's confusing, and I don't know how to deal with it. And then he'll like lock eyes on Siegfried, like he was like thinking and being a human for a second, and then he like work, and then we'll just like blabber on about some like thing with the club, and like you would have seen him do this a lot over the past months, as he would like start to think about like Tess or like his family or like something that's important to him, and then would immediately just like push that away and like begin talking about work.
Yeah, Siegfried would like immediately go into it of just like, oh, we've got this meeting on, on Friday with this, set up with these people to see how this is going. Just like immediately that like Donica would kind of get the similar sense that Siegfried is kind of like become a workaholic in place of having like no other purpose, and that he's kind of like found his vampire-ness with this club in a lot of ways. So it's like just as much a coping mechanism for his as perhaps it is for Don.
Yeah, I think when Donica starts talking about work, Toph stands up and he says, "I'll meet you guys at the train. I just need some fresh." And he kind of looks around, realizes where he is. He says, "I need some fresh air," and he would walk out of the bar.
After Toph leaves and Sig can like see that he's left, Sig will like turn over to Don. Seems like Toph's had a rough go.
Good.
A lot worse than we have. It was just kind of like he doesn't know where he was gonna go with that. Just that like he felt like he needed to say it out of some sense of guilt.
He sold me out, betrayed me. I won't forget it.
Siegfried will just kind of shrug. He doesn't know what to say. He doesn't like want to agree, but he doesn't necessarily. He can't disagree either. So he's just kind of like stuck in limbo. At the very least, we know him, and he's here, and friends are tough to come by these days. I don't know what that means or what we should do about it, but I don't know.
Sometimes I think that the four of us are a kind of family, that we were born together. There is something to that about the three of us, and Toph has guided us through a lot of that. But he's also like a loose cannon, makes terrible decisions, not a useful ally unless you're in a fight. And ideally, we don't get in fights. And so all he brings to us is chaos and a history of treachery. And so thinking about it logically, why would we have him around?
Stig will just kind of sigh. Like he wants, like his heart is telling him to disagree, but he can't find any logic justification in his brain to actually say it. So he doesn't know what to do. Well, at the very least, he's one of 4 people that know about this arms dealer with us. He's worth keeping tabs on, at least for that.
Yeah,
Sig will just kind of like shrug.
Donica will like look. He hadn't even thought of that. Will like look at Sig, and like roll his eyes, like God damn it. Yeah. Okay. We need to keep him around. He's gonna go to. What's this? Oh, he's gonna go to. We should follow him.
And Sig will kind of just like raise an eyebrow curiously, not following the logic, but he'll just kind of shrug and go along with it. If you say so. Just like Don's got the information network and Sig's just going to go along. Clearly there's something there that he doesn't know.
Yeah, as they're like walking out, he would say he's going to go to Sid. The Bruja have been missing. No one knows where they are. And if he leads us there, then that's a piece of information that we have that we didn't have before. And that no one seems to have.
Does he know? I mean, he's been gone for a while. Maybe he got left behind, but it's worth a shot, I guess.
I mean, I don't know how it is because we don't have sires in the way that most vampires do, but I think there's a connection there and that they can find each other.
So eventually, you guys will catch up. But before we get there, Toph, was there anything you wanted to do whilst you went to get your breath of fresh air, or were you literally just taking a walk?
I think he's just taking a walk. He's probably just thinking a lot. The conversation with Siegfried really pulls at those fragments of humanity that Toph still holds on to. And then with Donica actually dropping the bomb of like where Tess is, it's just really too much for him to really manage right now. And then, I mean, he's reckless, but he's not stupid in the truest sense of the word. Like Donica is right. He's rational. Rushing up there would solve nothing. One, he does believe that Tess is where she feels she needs to be. He even knows that she needs to be with her own kind, at least now anyways, but it's just tough for him to accept that. And so he's just kind of thinking that stuff through. So he's kind of just really not, just like one might walk along the edge of a pond or something and just kind of, in some solitude. He's doing that like along these subway tracks, just waiting for the others for when they're ready to go.
So in that case, where are you guys heading to?
I don't have any like specific place I need to go to. A computer, I guess. But like, I don't have to go anywhere specific to do that. So I would guess maybe the club, or we can try.
Back to the office. Yeah.
Back to the office it is. And Toph, will you accompany them?
I think he would say, I've been on tour with the band for like the last 6 months. He's gonna stop by his place, but he'll catch a cab. Well, how late is it in the evening?
Now let me see. You would have gone with Jonah to do the arms deal. That would have been a couple of hours. Then you came here. I'd say you have like 4 or 5 hours left before sunrise.
Yeah, so he definitely would say that he would stop by the club later.
Okay. He would actually ask Toph, have you been in contact with your clan?
The question catches Toph off guard. And he kind of narrows his eyes when he looks at you, Donica. What do you mean?
Have you been to the World's End?
No. Been gone for the past almost 6 months.
They're not there.
Shrugs. We don't, let me see, how would you say? He says, we don't put deep roots.
They're not there, and no one knows where they are.
He shrugs again.
Donica's reading a lot into these shrugs, like the way like when you're giving out to a kid, and the kid is like, you know, like, and he thinks that Toph probably wants to say a bunch of stuff, but like isn't saying it. I don't know what's happening.
Or doesn't want to say it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's happening, but the clans are all so tense. Everyone is taking a deep breath, and everyone's holding a knife in one hand, and I just don't know where the Bruja are, and neither does Fag, and that makes me think that they might be nowhere.
So is this conversation happening as we're riding the tram? Is that what?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So it's like that clacking. And he says, they'll turn up if they want. Don't get too tied up in a lot of the other bullshit that the other clans do. You may not know this, Donica. Oh, maybe you do. The prince missing. It's a great opportunity. Change.
Yeah. It makes the
Change is on the air, Donica. And he would lean in close to you, and you would see this. And he wouldn't smile, and he'd say, change, I think you and I both really want to see.
There's a meeting in 2 nights' time. The various clan heads. I'm going to meet with some of the Camarilla members and discuss this long piece. It'll be good to get a name to every face. The Bruja have to be somewhere. Can you find Sid?
So Rob, Toph would have definitely been in touch with Sid through this 6-month hiatus from the others.
You're saying you definitely would have been, did you say?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, it's actually a bit of a surprise to you because Sid has made no mention of their disappearance, as it were.
Yeah. So could you just repeat your question, Donica? Or what your statement or whatnot?
Can you find Sid?
Shrugs again. Again, probably by the third time he does it, it's freaking super irritating to you. He's kind of sitting back in this kind of ratty, torn up seat, and he just kind of shrugs. Could. I'm not going to, but I could. What are you worried so much about where the Bruja are?
It's extremely important to know. War is information. Everything is information. It's the most valuable thing that any of us have. Sometimes it's better to maybe think a little bit before you kick the door in.
shrugs for a fourth time, and he says, it's opportunity. I'm not the only one that saw it. Doesn't surprise me. No prince. Spire is all shaken up. Perfect. Lovely.
I've done some research, and there was a time when there were anti-Camarilla factions in London, and they don't exist anymore. They are dead, crushed, all of them. It's because of the way that they went about this process. It was a lot of door kicking and a lot of posturing, and a lot of shouting and graffiti and spray paint and posters and bullshit. It's not the way that you beat the Camarilla. And so the same sort of decisions that led to that are being made here, I think. People sense that there's no prince, and people think, now's our time. Now we can just do whatever. It's not how it works. They're still going to fucking kill all of us if we try anything. So we have to think and not go waving flags around this soon.
Toph just listens, and when Donica is done, he nods and he goes, right, that's what's gonna happen. We're gonna think now. And he would just reach over and just do a quick little tap to Donica's forehead. And that's where you come in, Donica.
The reason that I care so much about where the Bruja are is that what if some of them are like you? And I think maybe a lot of them are. And I think maybe now it's possible that many of them have gone somewhere to do something like blow up a building or wave a big flag around. And if that happens, then it fucks the whole thing.
Toph laughs. He shakes his head. He goes, no, there's no fear of that. Yeah, we don't like the Camarilla, but they're not organized enough.
That's the problem.
But if it'll make you feel better, Don, I'll talk to Sig.
It would make me feel better.
I'm counting on you. You don't think it's just coincidence that Sid sent me? You can't think that, Donica. You're much too smart.
He'll shrug.
Yeah. There is like that appreciative smile from Toph when you do that. And he goes, I'll talk to Sid.
The car pulls up in the underground station. The doors open. The freakish clown masked individual just turns his head round to watch you disembark.
I so bad want to rip that freaking clown mask off and see what's underneath it. Like every time Toph has been on the train, he's the one wanted to do that, but he knows better. So he kind of just pauses for a second, and then he steps off the train.
Excellent. So if you're all heading, well, sorry, did you say that you were going back with them to the club, Toph, or are you going your own way?
No, he's going to go to his place because he hasn't.
Right, yeah. Apologies,
he hasn't been there since he left on tour.
Excellent. Any parting words before you split up? Because your place is that way and the club is that way.
Just a shrug, I guess, and a nod.
Okay. It isn't long before Siegfried and Donica, you arrive at the club. Francis gives you a rundown of everything that's happened. Other than a few unruly guests who tried to get in when they had an argument at the door with the bouncers. Other than that, basically, nothing really has gone on at the club. You have an estimated earnings total. Your actual earnings total is provided to you at the very sort of end of the night when everything is counted up. Which does remind me, you are going to be receiving annual payments, and we can discuss, out of game, when and how you are to receive those and how much you get. I don't know whether we're going to do it as a you get like a dot in resources, or if I just say you have this much of money per month or whatever. We'll work that out however you want to do it.
Yeah, I'd say the resource is the easiest.
Yeah, it is a sizable sum, so we'll talk about that another time. But so once you've talked about how much money you're getting in and how the night's gone, you are free to spend these final hours of the night doing whatever you want. Siegfried, what is it that you wish to do right now?
So once we're back, and Francis is off, I guess Sig and Don would both know. Does our office room, and Don, I guess you'd be the one to say, do we have a camera in our office room?
Yes, definitely. Every part of this place is like rigged up with spy equipment. Although this, I guess, in here would be set up so that only like you'd have to like turn it on as opposed to turn it off. Like if someone came in and you want to record the meeting, you would set it up that way as opposed to it always being on.
Yeah, Sig would send you a text when before to ask whether or not that it's currently on and to shut it off if it's on.
Yeah, he'll do so.
Yeah, Sig will kind of give like a strange look to the door and around before he closes it nervously. But then he'll sit down and say, I've learned something and it doesn't feel right to hide it. I wanted to show you.
Okay.
I did a little bit of snooping. I'll kind of say nervously around Vincent's room when we were setting it up. And he'll hold up a finger up on his hand, and his eyes will kind of narrow and gloss over. And then for a moment, nothing happens. And then after 20 or 30 seconds, a flame about the size of a candle flame will appear just above the finger. And just hold it up towards you.
I think Donegal gets a fright, not expecting that to happen at all. And then would lean forward to see where the machinery is, if it's some sort of new gadget or something. I don't know, I feel like you can be told magic is real, but I don't feel like you'd ever assume that it was magic, even when you're literally a magical vampire.
Yeah. He'll do the typical street magician thing of pull his sleeves down and show his arm, show that there's nothing there, and then he'll just kind of wave and it'll disappear.
What the fuck?
That's basically all I can do with it right now. But it'll, again look to the door just in case somehow somebody could be listening. So he'll actually whisper, I've been reading some of Vincent's books.
Does he know?
No, not yet. I don't think so.
Donegal will bring his hand up to his face. Are you stealing blood magic secrets from a blood sorcerer?
I know that this looks not great, but it'll just like try to find like the justification for like how that it's okay. It'll just kind of shake his head. Look, I've asked him to teach me. He hasn't yet, but I think that I can leverage. If I already know, then he doesn't have to give away secrets. He can just help me refine it. Right? Like say as if that makes sense.
It's so. I mean, many of the clans have things that only they can do. You know, like me, I can do this, and he like and like changes his face to somebody else, um, and then like we'll go back to his normal shape, and you know that's like something that I could just do. I didn't have to learn that, and no other clan can do that the way that I can do that. But this is their clan's thing. It's like their whole deal, the whole thing about their clan. And it's very secret, and extremely important to them. And you've stolen those magical secrets from a fucking sorcerer. I don't know if it's better for you to pretend like you don't know this, or if it's better for you to go to him and tell him that you stole. Did you steal my? I don't even know.
I mean, his books are in the. It's our club. They were in the room. It's not stealing is a bit, and it's just like gonna ramble as if there's any possible justification that's like logical, but it's all just like reaching.
Have you
Just kind of like stop himself.
with more than one person before? You just walk into their room and help yourself to whatever's in their room? It's not a thing.
Yeah, coming from a computer hacker, that makes a whole lot of sense. You're so respecting of people's privacy.
Yeah, but I don't steal from blood wizards. It's a different thing. I steal from fat dweebs. Like, it's not the same at all. There's no danger. I think that the sooner that you tell him this, the better. I think that if you say you were so eager to learn and, oh God, that you walked into his room and helped yourself to his books, what the fuck? Why is he leaving blood magic books in a club?
Vincent has he'll kind of like scratch his head a little bit nervously. A lab there that he uses.
A what?
Well, that was part of the deal that if he gets to keep share of the club, that the with the whole thing with the blood, it's just like say that as if it's an explanation.
Yeah, I guess part of the agreement was that like there's no surveillance in his part of the club, and so Donica doesn't know what's happening in there.
Look, you're the one who's said it yourself. We have to find our power in this world as these things where we can find it. And if there's anything, you're talking about incendiary bullets, that candle-sized flame, that's like baby stuff. That's like baby's first magic spell level shit. I don't know how far down it goes. But if you're going to be making arms deals with Prometheans, whatever the fuck those are, and selling that to Primogens, Malkavian and Nosferatu, then I don't know that me doing this is that different.
Let me tell you why it's extremely different.
Please do.
If I help someone to purchase bullets and someone kills someone with those bullets, have I killed someone? Absolutely not. All I've done in that situation is point someone in one direction. If you summon an inferno of flame from your hands and burn a vampire to death, you have committed the biggest crime that we can do as vampires. and he will be turned to dust.
The goal of a gun isn't always to go murder. Sometimes it's good to have one just in case.
A weapon is for hurting people. It's for killing people. Maybe there's other things you can do with this blood magic, but I don't know.
There is.
It gives me the fucking willies, to be honest. Freaks me out. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's freakier somehow than the powers that I have, but it is. There's something different about it.
Well, I had to go 6 months of watching your freaky powers and your freaky people, and I managed to get by. We'll be okay.
You should tell him
So-
soon, I think.
Most. Yeah, I'll talk to him, and hopefully he won't like boil my blood or turn me into a frog or whatever they can do.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I should be there when you talk to him. Just in case he gets angry.
Bing. You have a alert echo upon your phone, Donica. In fact, you probably both would if you have news alerts on, so that's up to you.
Sure.
You have received an update from whatever news source that you are subscribed to. And it is a reporter speaking about this is the 6-month anniversary since the disappearance of Gregory Knight. And upon it is a picture of Gregory Knight. He is a musician, maybe not like a super famous one, fairly famous on the local scene in London. And the thing is, Donica, you have an eidetic memory, which means you never forget anything. We go back to the very beginning of this evening when you were checking surveillance footage of the night you took over the club. Gregory Knight was there in attendance before staggering out into the darkness and down the alleyway opposite the club. And that is where we're going to leave our creatures of the night tonight. So, before we finish, we've got to do some XP as usual. And as ever, you get 3 points if you manage to attain these 3, which I don't think we ever have failed to do, but never mind, it's all good. First, you get a point for showing up. For second, you get a point for a learning curve, and then finally something cool that you did that is elected by the other players. And we're going to begin with, well, obviously you will get the one for showing up. And for learning curve, we're going to start with Toph. Lionel, what did Toph learn on this night?
His bandmates are assholes. No.
Yeah, that counts.
No, I think it's not something it just leading up to this session and through this session. And I think it played out with his conversation with Sig. And that's humility is not something that comes easily to Toph. Sometimes people fake confidence and whatnot. Toph does not. He seldom suffers from failings in that category. But it's I think his learning curve is that he needs to make amends to Donica. He'll never be able to undo what he did. But I think he's learned that he's starting to build that bridge, I guess, and he started that with Sig. So I think that was a big leap for Toph. And actually, he probably got to thank his bandmates for that. It was the culmination of the crashing down of his world. when he lost the one thing that, like, I mean, let's face it, what is he always doing? He was always trying to plug his music. Haven't you heard of me kind of stuff? Haven't you heard of us kind of stuff? And now he's even lost that. So that was very humbling for him. And now he's that kind of rebuilding who is Toph. You know, he's got to kind of practice what he's preaching now, you know? So that's what I think is his learning, what he's learned.
Excellent. What did Siegfried learn on this night?
Siegfried has kind of, it's been over the past couple months, but it's kind of culminated now in this night, more so than most, of that there's a stage that you have to stop looking to everybody else to like tell you what you can and should do in this world, that you have to find your own place and make your own thing happen. And Sig has finally started to get a lot more comfortable with that idea, that if he's going to have the sort of station and influence that like Donica is starting to build, that he's going to have to build that for himself in different ways. And maybe the methods of learning those things have not been necessarily on the up and up, and have some arguments from the others. But that now is his time to do what he feels he needs to do, and that's going to maybe disagree with Donica and perhaps with Toph, but that he can't just give up and like be the order taker for everybody else. That he's going to have to take his own ventures and learn his own skills, and he's really started to, I think, come into that.
Perfect. And finally, what has Donica learned this night?
That, like, I think like over the last, and it's kind of another one about like long-term learning, but like that, like the sort of fiery, exciting revolution that he had in mind is like not possible, and he's like given up on that in a way, because he like knows more about the inner workings of like kindred society, and like has a better understanding of all that sort of stuff. And so I think tonight he learned that like his initial response, like if it was session 2, would have been, let's buy a bunch of weapons and go do XYZ. But now it's very measured, and it's really about like power broking and like playing people against each other and stuff like that. So I think it's like long game. He's like learning and learned today in a few ways to play the long game.
Fantastic. And it really is like such an opportunity could actually turn out to be a powder keg if dealt with in the wrong way. Absolutely. So that was your learning curves. Now we're all going to elect for each player something cool that they did. So let's begin with Toph. The rest of us, what's something cool that Toph did?
The scene of Toph going up on stage after he's been fired and like taking the mic and like starting to like talk is like, that might as well have been like straight out of a movie. Like you can see that scene like happening. I'm just like, oh god, just don't, no, please don't. Oh god, and just like that whole scene of like him getting fired and then going on that tirade in front of the whole crowd about how he's not going to sing, but then still somehow like not actually outing them and like saying that it was a throat issue and that he's like given this position over to like then save face after the tirade was like such an interesting like dichotomy all in just itself. Like he's mad enough to make a scene, but not stupid enough to like make a big scene. So it was really interesting to see both the willingness to do that, but then also the restraint not to take it too far. Kind of both in one was just like peak Toph.
I really like the description at the start. Just felt very real, of like lying around the place and like all these people like all over the place. The whole band part I thought felt very real and like believable, and I like that. But I really like that like he's making efforts to try and build those bridges because he knows that Donica is not going to, and so like he's like putting in effort to do that, and I think that was like pretty cool and useful for the game. And also the shrugs were great.
I agree. The shrugs were amazing. Obviously, I think for me, it really stood out to me the bit where he's talking with the band. I really enjoyed doing that with you, Lionel. But as that's already been taken, I'm going to say instead something that probably counts for all of you. But I really liked how there appears to be this grieving process for Tess being missing, and that whole mystery is still a bit like an open wound for all of you. But when Lionel, you described the flush of life as being like a way that it happened without him even knowing, and because of that, like his emotions were raw. I really enjoyed that. So something cool that Siegfried did.
Stole blood magic from a sorcerer. Just great. It's like so unexpected. And just like the way that he went about telling as well, and like trying to make that seem like a reasonable decision in any sort of sense, is like really fun, and really like gives an impression of like the change in Siegfried, that he's no longer just going to be like, what do you think? What do you think? Like he's making his own sort of decisions and whatnot, which is pretty great.
Yeah, you totally stole mine, Lloyd. But another one I liked, I did like how Siegfried was really just showed some empathy, and you see some of that humanity that Siegfried is holding on to when Toph and he were talking uh, in the bar. I thought that I really liked that. I actually thanked him in chat too because he did a really nice job. And I think that Toph left that conversation, really taking a lot from it. It's going to make it that much easier for him. So I really love that, Jeff, when you did that with Sig, or how'd you play it out with Sig.
And I, for one, really enjoyed the description of Siegfried becoming almost like a workaholic to fill the void. I thought, oh wow, I never even thought of it like that. But and what I really like is that it's like forgive the title because I think it's a title, the title of a book by Donald Trump, but it's called The Art of the Deal. Not obviously Donald Trump, but the fact that the Toreador has found like almost like an artistic way of going about organizing and functioning and running a business. I imagine like he's put like a lot of creative input into the development of the club. So I just love that idea of him sort of pouring all of that into it. Fantastic. And finally, Donica. Something cool that Donica did.
I love freaking Don. He takes every situation, and almost every situation, and freaking turns it around to his benefit. Like we go and help Jonah with the stupid arms deal, so this crazy dude can get more C4, which is not a good idea. But he goes there and he makes a deal out of it. I just love the way Donica never missed a beat. He just picked right up, talking to this patchwork, freaky-eyed dude, and he just doesn't miss a beat. And already his wheels are already spinning. He's already figuring out, all right, this is how I'm going to build the web page, and I'm going to be the middleman for this whole thing. So I really love that. So classic Donica.
I'm going to have a slight disagreement because my favorite moment was where he did miss a beat, which was right at the end when Sig showed him the magic. I was fully expecting of like, yes, this is another great tool that we can have in our arsenal. Like, good thing we have another angle to attack from and this knowledge that we can tap into. And it was just so not that of like, you did what? That's a line that we do not cross. It was like such the opposite of like Don's normal like facility of just like, everything's an opportunity. We are always pushing forward. Information is everything. That's how society is controlled and operated. But then for some reason, this like power that is by all extents like basically just like tangential to like his own abilities, just in like a different way, is like somehow exceptionally out of turn and dangerous, and you shouldn't mess with that. And you've like crossed a line by doing that. It was really interesting to see the like utter pragmatism kind of break across this moment where he does have this one kind of blind spot where power and information is no longer absolute, that there's a point where you've done something wrong to gain that. It was really interesting to see that.
I particularly enjoyed the new NPC being Adam and speaking to Donica, because that was pretty cool. It was like having a glimpse, you asking questions about sort of like, can you make the weapons and stuff, and him being able to say like, yeah, we can create anything. That's what they're called. The Prometheans are known as the created, hence the title of the session. So I really like that interaction. But my favorite thing was 6 words that you said. That's not how you beat them. That's not how you beat them. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, Donica's like had 6 months to just stew on what's gone on and realize that there has to be a different way to oppose the Camarilla, if indeed he intends to. We will have to wait and see. So all that remains for me to say is thank you to my wonderful players for returning to the night. It has been an absolute joy to come back to this game. I really enjoyed it, and it's just, you know, there's times where I can sit back and let you have conversations in the gutter or conversations on the underground train. I love it. So thank you very much. And for those of you watching and after the fact, if you like this video, give it a like. If you'd like to see more like it, then give me a subscribe or not. We're all friends here, or are we? Take it easy. And I hope that all of your performances are up to standard.